Today's lesson is on significant figures. In particular, we will be dealing with the aspect of precision in measurement, and that's why we use significant figures. So what I have up front here are two containers. One of them is a 1 liter container, the one on the right. If I focus in closely here, you can see there's a water line right there. It's not quite halfway. And then the other container, it's kind of hard to see. That's a 100 milliliter grad cylinder. That also has some water in it, and we're going to read the amount of water that's in there. Okay, so this is what we'd like to discuss today. Let me get it focused in a little bit. All right. So the first thing I'd like to show you is that I have a 1 liter container here. Okay. There are no lines or graduations. That's why we call these graduated cylinders. There's no lines at all. So if I were to ask you how much water is in this container, and I brought along my assistant, my son is here, and so he can just tell you from where he's sitting. Stephen, if I were to ask you how much water is in here, about how much would you say?
1/3 of a liter.
Okay, about a third. Now, in the English system, we use fractions, but in the metric system, we don't use fractions, we use tenths. Everything is in units of 10. That's why it makes it real easy.
Okay.
So here, you don't see any lines. There's just 1 liter here. So what we have to do is divide this in our minds into 10 equal parts, just like there'd be 10 little lines here. So Stephen, I'm going to ask you again, the water level's right here. You can clearly see it's less than halfway, right?
Yeah.
So if I were to ask you now, how many tenths of water is in this liter, what would you say?
I'd say about 4/10.
About 4/10. That's a good answer. And it is an estimate, so you don't have to agree with 4/10. You might say it's only 3/10. Maybe you'd even say it is half. So we would say it is 0.4 liters. Okay? Because this is a liter container, and I'm estimating, so in math we put a little estimate line there. I'm estimating it's about 4/10 of the way up. But that's all I can do with this. That's the only precision I can get from this tool. Okay? Now let's change paces here. I have a 100 milliliter grad cylinder. Steve, would you come up here, please? Got a 100 milliliter grad cylinder, and I've got an amount of water in it. And again, it's hard to see on the camera. It's up here. Okay? And I'm going to have Stephen read the meniscus. Steve, do you know what the meniscus is?
Yeah. Isn't it about the amount of milliliters?
Yeah. In this case, this is in milliliters. The meniscus describes water, or any liquid. Water kind of has a bubble. It's actually got a thickness at the top. There's the top part, and the very bottom of the bubble is what we call the meniscus. Okay, so, Stephen, let's take a reading. You can see there's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. All those lines are indicated. So the 70 mark and the 80 mark are what we're focusing on. It's less than 80, and there are lines in there. There are 10 lines in there. So what would you say the measurement is?
I'd say about 79.4 milliliters.
79.4 milliliters. Okay. 79.4 milliliters. Now, the 70 is a line right there. Then we count. There are 9 little lines. So the 7 and the 9 are not guesses. They're real lines. But then there's a space between the 79 line and the 80 line. And we're estimating, just like we did with the liter cylinder here, that it's 4/10 of the way between the 79th and 80th line. Okay, so let me show you a picture that kind of shows that. If this is the 80 line, let's call that 75, and here's 70. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're saying that the water line is right about there. 79.4 tenths, thanks Steve, tenths of the way up. Okay, now